Have you ever wondered what would happen if every single nuclear weapon on Earth detonated at the exact same moment? It's a terrifying thought, but one that explores the immense power we've created. Let's dive into this mind-bending hypothetical scenario. First, let's get a sense of the scale. There are over 12,000 nuclear warheads in the world today. If we imagine they all exploded simultaneously, the combined force would be unimaginable. It would be like detonating billions of tons of TNT, dwarfing the power of any volcanic eruption or earthquake in recorded history. The initial moment would be a flash of blinding light visible from space. On the ground, anyone within thousands of kilometers of the blasts would be instantly vaporized. The immediate effect is a series of massive fireballs, each one hotter than the surface of the sun, merging into a global wall of fire. These fireballs would create colossal mushroom clouds, punching through the atmosphere and carrying radioactive material into the stratosphere. Simultaneously, a series of shock waves would race across the planet at supersonic speeds. These pressure waves would flatten cities, forests, and everything in their path. The sheer force would trigger mega tsunamis in the oceans, with waves hundreds of meters high crashing into coastlines, and it would likely induce a global earthquake of unprecedented magnitude, shaking the very foundations of our planet's crust. Within minutes, the world as we know it would be gone. The initial blasts would cause immense destruction, but the aftermath would be even more catastrophic. The mushroom clouds would rain down black, radioactive fallout. This isn't just dust. It's a lethal cocktail of radioactive isotopes that contaminates everything it touches: air, water, and soil. For any potential survivors of the initial blasts, this fallout would be a silent, invisible killer, causing severe radiation sickness and long-term health effects. But the most devastating long-term consequence would be a nuclear winter. The sheer volume of smoke, soot, and dust thrown into the atmosphere from burning cities and forests would form a thick, dark blanket around the entire planet. This blanket would block out sunlight, possibly for years, even decades. Without sunlight, global temperatures would plummet dramatically. The world would be plunged into a deep freeze, with average temperatures dropping well below freezing, even in the tropics. This abrupt climate change would cause a catastrophic collapse of ecosystems. Plants would die without sunlight for photosynthesis, and with them, the entire food chain would crumble. Agriculture would become impossible. The oceans, absorbing much of the soot, would acidify, and marine life would perish on a massive scale. Humanity, or what's left of it, would face an existential struggle in this cold, dark, radioactive world. Small pockets of survivors might exist, perhaps in deep underground bunkers or extremely remote locations that were spared the worst of the fallout. But their world would be a living nightmare. They would have to contend with freezing temperatures, a poisoned environment, a lack of food and clean water, and the constant threat of radiation. The very fabric of society would dissolve. There would be no governments, no infrastructure, no communication, no electricity. It would be a return to the most primitive state of existence, a desperate fight for survival in a world that has been fundamentally broken. The psychological toll on survivors would be immense, witnessing the end of their world and facing a future without hope. Even if humanity managed to cling to existence for a few generations, the long-term effects would be severe. The ozone layer, which protects us from the sun's harmful ultraviolet radiation, would be severely damaged by the nitrogen oxides created in the fireballs. Once the dust finally settled and the sun reappeared, the surface would be blasted with intense UV radiation, making it even more hostile to life. Thinking about this scenario isn't meant to be just a scary story. It's a powerful reminder of the incredible responsibility that comes with nuclear technology. It underscores why international efforts for disarmament and non-proliferation are so critically important. The power to unmake our world is in our hands, and understanding the stakes is the first step toward ensuring this hypothetical nightmare never becomes a reality. It highlights the fragility of our civilization and the preciousness of the world we all share. This thought experiment shows us that in a global nuclear exchange, there are no winners. There is only collective loss on a scale that's hard to even comprehend. Thank you so much for joining me on this thought-provoking journey. If you found this video interesting, please hit that like button and consider subscribing to the channel for more content that explores the biggest what-ifs. Let me know in the comments what other scenarios you'd like to see explored. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.